Sarah wiped down the counter for what felt like the 100th time that morning. Her hands were shaking. She hadn't slept much the night before. How could she? The hospital bills were piling up on her kitchen table at home, and her mom's surgery was coming up fast. The small diner on Sunset Boulevard was busy as usual. People came and went, most of them in a hurry, barely looking up from their phones. Sarah moved between tables with a coffee pot in one hand and a notepad in the other. Her feet hurt. Her back ached. But she kept smiling. She had to. Table 7 needs a refill, her manager called out from behind the counter. Sarah grabbed the fresh pot and headed over. That's when she saw him. The man at table 7 was wearing a simple black jacket and a baseball cap pulled low over his face. He was reading a book, completely absorbed in it. Something about him felt familiar, but Sarah couldn't place it. She approached the table carefully. "More coffee, sir?" He looked up and smiled. It was a warm, genuine smile. "Yes, please." "Thank you." Sarah started pouring. Her hands were still shaking from exhaustion and stress. She tried to steady them, but it was no use. The hot coffee splashed over the rim of the cup and spilled directly onto the man's jacket. "Oh my God! I'm so sorry." Sarah's heart dropped. She grabbed napkins frantically, her face turning red. "I'm so sorry. Please, let me help you." The man stood up quickly, but he wasn't angry. He was actually chuckling. Hey, it's okay. Really. It's just coffee. But your jacket. It's fine. I've had worse happen to me, trust me." He took some napkins and dabbed at the stain. "Please don't worry about it." Sarah felt tears welling up in her eyes. This was the last thing she needed. What if he complained? What if she lost her job? She couldn't afford that. Not now. Not with her mom's surgery coming up. "Are you okay?" the man asked, his voice full of concern. Sarah nodded quickly, blinking back tears. "Yes, I'm fine. I'm really sorry. Seriously, it's no big deal." He sat back down and gestured to the seat across from him. "You look like you could use a break. Want to sit for a minute?" Sarah glanced around nervously. The diner wasn't too crowded right now, and her manager was in the back. I probably shouldn't. Just for a minute," he said kindly. "You look exhausted." There was something about his voice that made Sarah trust him. She slid into the booth across from him, just for a moment. "Rough day?" he asked. Sarah let out a long breath. "Rough week. Rough month, actually." "Want to talk about it?" She didn't know why, but she did. Maybe it was because he was a stranger. Maybe it was because he had kind eyes. Maybe she just needed someone to listen. "My mom," Sarah started, her voice cracking. "She has cancer. Stage 3. They found it 6 months ago, and she needs surgery. Major surgery. And I'm trying to save up for it, but..." She trailed off, wiping at her eyes with her apron. The man's expression changed. The smile faded, replaced by something deeper. Understanding. Compassion. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "That's really hard. The insurance won't cover all of it," Sarah continued. She didn't know why she was telling him all this, but now that she'd started, she couldn't stop. "The surgery costs $80,000. $80,000. I've been working double shifts, picking up extra hours wherever I can, but it's not enough. It's never enough." "How much have you saved?" he asked. "About $12,000. I've been saving for months, but the surgery is in 3 weeks, and I don't know what I'm going to do." Sarah's voice broke completely now. "She's all I have. I can't lose her." The man reached across the table and put his hand on hers. "You won't. We'll figure something out." Sarah looked up at him, confused. "We." Before he could answer, another customer called for service. Sarah jumped up. "I'm sorry, I have to get back to work. Thank you for listening. And again, I'm so sorry about your jacket." "Don't worry about it," he said with that same warm smile. "Take care of yourself, Sarah." She stopped. "How did you know my name?" He pointed to her name tag and grinned. "Lucky guess." Sarah couldn't help but smile back. She went back to work, feeling just a tiny bit lighter than before. The man stayed for another hour, reading his book and sipping coffee. When he finally left, he placed some cash on the table. Sarah went over to clear it and froze. There was a $100 bill sitting there. Just the tip. She ran outside, hoping to catch him and tell him it was too much, but he was already gone. Disappeared into the Los Angeles afternoon like he'd never been there at all. That night, Sarah counted her money again at home. With the $100 tip, she now had $12,200. Still nowhere near enough. She looked at the stack of hospital bills and her mom's medical reports spread across the kitchen table. Her mom was asleep in the next room, too weak these days to do much of anything. Sarah put her head in her hands and cried. 3 days passed. Sarah worked her shifts, took care of her mom, and tried not to think about the impossible situation she was in. The diner was busy as always, full of tourists and locals, all of them caught up in their own lives. On the 4th day, something strange happened. Sarah's manager called her into the back office. "Someone left something for you at the front desk," she said, looking confused. "Left something? Who?" "I don't know. A man dropped off an envelope and said it was for Sarah. That's all." Sarah's heart started racing. She went to the front and found a thick manila envelope with her name written on it in neat handwriting. With shaking hands, she opened it. Inside was a letter and a check. Sarah pulled out the check first and felt her knees go weak. She had to grab the counter to steady herself. The check was for $80,000. $80,000 exactly. Her hands trembled so badly she almost dropped it. This couldn't be real. It had to be some kind of mistake. She unfolded the letter with tears already streaming down her face. "Dear Sarah, I hope you don't mind, but I wanted to help. Nobody should have to choose between saving their parent and paying their bills. Your mom is lucky to have a daughter who loves her so much. This should cover the surgery and any other expenses that come up. Please don't try to pay me back. Consider it a gift from someone who knows what it's like to love someone and want to protect them. Take care of your mom. Take care of yourself. A friend." That's when Sarah remembered. The man from table 7. She pulled out her phone and searched online. Actor Black Jacket Baseball Cap Sunset Boulevard. Then she saw it. A photo from a fan page. The same warm smile. The same kind eyes. It was Keanu Reeves. The famous actor had been sitting in her diner, and she'd spilled coffee all over him. And instead of being angry, he'd listened to her story and paid for her mom's entire surgery. Sarah sank to the floor, still holding the check, sobbing with relief and disbelief. Sarah couldn't stop staring at the check. $80,000. It felt like holding a winning lottery ticket, except she'd never bought a ticket. She'd just spilled coffee on the kindest man in the world. Her manager found her sitting on the floor in the hallway, tears streaming down her face. "Sarah? What's wrong? Are you okay?" Sarah looked up, unable to speak. She just held up the check. Her manager's eyes went wide. "Is that real? Where did that come from?" "Keanu Reeves," Sarah whispered. "The man from table 7. The one I spilled coffee on. It was him." "Wait, what? Keanu Reeves was here? In our diner?" Sarah nodded, still in shock. "And I dumped hot coffee all over him. And then he did this." Her manager helped her up. "You need to go. Go to the bank right now before it closes. Deposit that check. Then go tell your mom." Sarah's hands were still shaking as she gathered her things. She couldn't believe this was happening. Things like this didn't happen to people like her. They happened in movies, not real life. But the check was real. She could feel the paper between her fingers. She could see the signature at the bottom. The bank teller looked at her suspiciously when she handed over the check. "This is a very large amount," the woman said. "We'll need to verify this before we can deposit it." "Please," Sarah begged. "My mom needs surgery. This is real. I promise it's real." The teller made some phone calls. Sarah stood there, heart pounding, terrified that somehow this would all fall apart. That the check would bounce. That it was all some cruel joke. Finally, after what felt like hours, the teller smiled. "The check is good. It'll take a few days to clear completely, but you can access the funds by tomorrow morning." Sarah nearly collapsed with relief. "Thank you. Thank you so much." She drove home in a daze, tears blurring her vision. She had to pull over twice just to cry and collect herself. Her whole life had changed in the span of a week. One random encounter, one spilled cup of coffee, and suddenly the impossible was possible. Her mom was awake when Sarah got home, sitting in her favorite chair by the window. She looked so small and fragile. The cancer had taken so much from her already. "Mom," Sarah said, kneeling beside the chair. "I have something to tell you." Her mom smiled weakly. "You look like you've been crying. What's wrong, sweetheart?" "Nothing's wrong. Everything's right. Mom, we can do the surgery. We have the money." Her mom's smile faded. "Sarah, honey, we talked about this. We can't afford." "No, Mom, listen. We can. Someone helped us. Someone paid for your surgery." "What? Who would do that?" "Sarah, what did you do?" Sarah told her the whole story. The coffee spill. The conversation. The envelope. The check. Her mom listened with tears running down her cheeks. $80,000? Her mom whispered. A stranger gave you $80,000? Not a stranger. Keanu Reeves, Mom. The actor. And I spilled coffee on him. Her mom started laughing and crying at the same time. Only you, Sarah. Only you could spill coffee on a movie star and have him pay for my surgery. They held each other and cried together. For the first time in months, they were tears of joy instead of fear. The surgery was scheduled for 2 weeks later. Sarah called the hospital the next day and paid the full amount. The woman on the phone sounded shocked. The entire balance? You want to pay it all right now? Yes, Sarah said firmly. Every penny. Those 2 weeks felt like the longest of Sarah's life. She barely slept, terrified that something would go wrong. That her mom would get worse before the surgery. That they'd waited too long. But her mom stayed strong. She even seemed to get a little better, knowing that help was coming. The day before the surgery, Sarah went back to the diner. She needed to work. She needed to keep her mind busy. But more than that, she hoped he might come back. She wanted to thank him properly. He never came. Sarah asked everyone she knew if they'd seen him. She checked the diner every day for weeks. But Keanu Reeves never returned to table 7. The surgery went perfectly. 8 hours long, but the doctors got everything. All the cancer. Gone. Your mom's a fighter, the surgeon told Sarah afterward. With the right treatment and rest, she should make a full recovery. Sarah sobbed in the hospital hallway, overwhelmed with gratitude and relief. Her mom spent 2 weeks in the hospital recovering. Sarah was there every day, holding her hand, reading to her, making sure she ate. The nurses all commented on how devoted Sarah was. Your daughter barely leaves your side, one nurse said to her mom. She saved my life, her mom replied, squeezing Sarah's hand. Actually, Sarah said quietly, someone else did that. During her mom's recovery, Sarah tried to find a way to thank Keanu. She looked up his agent, his publicist, everyone she could think of. She wrote a letter and tried to send it to his management company. She never heard back. Sarah learned later that this wasn't unusual. Keanu Reeves did things like this all the time. He donated millions to hospitals. He gave money to crew members on his movies. He bought motorcycles for his stunt team. He took pay cuts so other actors could be hired. He helped people quietly without asking for recognition or thanks. Sarah realized she was just one of many people he'd helped. Just another person whose life he'd changed without wanting anything in return. Her mom came home 3 weeks after the surgery. She was weak and needed physical therapy, but she was alive. The cancer was gone. Sarah took time off work to care for her. Money was tight again, but they had enough. More importantly, they had each other. One evening, about 2 months after the surgery, Sarah and her mom were watching television. A movie came on. One of Keanu's films. Should we watch something else? Sarah asked. Her mom shook her head. No, I want to see him. I want to see the man who saved my life. They watched the movie together. Sarah couldn't stop thinking about that day in the diner. How kind he'd been. How he'd listened to a complete stranger pour out her heart. How he'd helped without hesitation. He's really good, her mom said, watching the screen. He's the best person I've ever met, Sarah replied. You know what we should do? Her mom said suddenly. What? Pass it on. Not the money, obviously, but the kindness. We should find ways to help other people the way he helped us. Sarah thought about that. Her mom was right. They couldn't repay Keanu, but they could honor what he'd done by doing the same for others. Sarah started small. She began leaving bigger tips for other waitresses. She volunteered at the hospital where her mom had her surgery, bringing coffee and comfort to families in the waiting room. She donated to cancer research whenever she had a few extra dollars. Her mom, once she was strong enough, started volunteering too. She visited other cancer patients, offering hope and encouragement. They couldn't change the world. They weren't rich. They weren't famous. But they could make a difference, one small act of kindness at a time. 6 months after the surgery, Sarah was working at the diner when a young mother came in with 2 small children. Sarah could tell immediately that things were hard for them. The woman's clothes were worn. The kids were hungry, but the mom only ordered water for herself and split one meal between the children. Sarah brought them extra food. On the house, she said with a smile. The woman's eyes filled with tears. I can't accept this. Please, Sarah said. Someone once helped me when I really needed it. Let me help you. When the woman left, Sarah found a note on the table with a few crumpled dollar bills. The note said, "Thank you. You'll never know how much this meant." But Sarah did know. She knew exactly how much it meant. She kept working at the diner on Sunset Boulevard. She kept watching Table 7, hoping that one day Keanu might come back. She had so much she wanted to say to him. But even if he never returned, Sarah knew she'd been blessed. She'd met a real-life angel. Someone who proved that genuine kindness still existed in the world. Her mom was cancer-free for a year now, healthy and strong and alive. Every night before bed, Sarah said a prayer of thanks. Not to a saint or a deity, but to a humble man who wore a baseball cap and read books in diners. A man who listened to a stressed-out waitress and decided to change her entire world. Sometimes Sarah wondered if he even remembered her. He probably helped so many people that one crying waitress blurred into dozens of others. But Sarah would never forget him. She'd never forget the day she spilled coffee on an angel, and he responded by saving her mother's life. She kept the original letter in a frame on her wall. On days when life got hard, when bills piled up or problems seemed too big, she'd read it again. Nobody should have to choose between saving their parent and paying their bills. Those words reminded her that good people existed. That miracles happened. That sometimes, when you least expected it, hope walked into your life wearing a black jacket and a kind smile. Sarah learned something important from that experience. The world could be harsh and unfair. Life could be cruel. But it could also be beautiful. And that beauty often came from unexpected places. From strangers who became friends. From movie stars who acted like regular people. From simple acts of extraordinary kindness. Sarah never did get to thank Keanu Reeves properly. But she liked to think that somewhere, somehow, he knew. That he could feel the gratitude radiating from a small apartment in Los Angeles where a mother and daughter got their miracle. And every single day, Sarah tried to be more like him. To listen more. To judge less. To help when she could. Because that's what he'd taught her. That's what his gift really was. Not the money. Not the surgery. But the reminder that one person, one moment of kindness, could change everything.